Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our daily interviews with successful real estate investors. Our guest today has been a real estate investor since 2001 and personally owns over 900 units. His company manages more than 2,600 units for over 700 investors. Dan Butler is co-founder of Crest Core Realty. Dan, welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. And our viewers will remember Douglas, who is your partner. And so now we have the second half of the equation. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's great.
Yeah. So to kick things off, tell us about your real estate goals right now.
So, I think for me, one of the goals is just never stop buying.
That's a good one.
I think, we go through periods of, buying, quite a bit to not buying at all. And the last couple of years, we kind of focused on our core businesses like property management and maintenance and those kind of things. So, I think we missed the opportunity to buy during the last couple of years. We bought some, but not like we had in the past. So, to keep the machine moving, I just want to keep buying.
Yeah.
So, we started an office in Jackson, Tennessee, and we're kind of going to that West Tennessee, not just Memphis. And so we want to buy, and that's another one of the goals for this year is to buy at each market that we're now actively managing. So that's a big goal for us.
Yeah. And would you say you concentrated on your core businesses to boost your cash flow? Was that the reasoning for that, or?
Yeah, basically, we were pushing hard. We utilized Traction, the EOS operating system, a thing called Culture Index to do surveys to behavior kind of profiles for employees. And basically, we're just trying to put the right people in the right seats to maximize. We'd grown so fast through the downturn, through either the purchases as well as just, management. We were getting referrals, left and right from, organic growth, that we had to kind of just, take a minute, catch our breath and focus on, optimizing our business and getting the standard operating procedures in place, getting the right leadership in place, getting the pillars around, hiring the right way and the right people. So that's kind of where we kind of step back for a minute to work on the core businesses that support our own properties.
Yeah, that's really interesting because there's some people out there, maybe somebody watching right now that, they've grown so fast, like you said, but then they have to take the foot off the gas pedal for a second. So how did you have to change how you thought about your businesses in real estate to go from that rapid growth to now kind of, making sure everything's running smoothly?
Well, Douglas and I, my business partner, we're very, we take our pride in our, reputation and who we are and what we try to do. And when it was just he and I, we could contain things a certain way. And so when we started leveraging other people, we kind of started seeing little things happening that we weren't, proud of, for lack of better words. And so we really wanted to step back and say, all right, how do we fix that? And so, I have manufacturing operations experience. I ran plants throughout the U.S., all kinds of, toolkits in the tool, Six Sigma, Lean, different, things like that to make operations efficient. So we tried to use, our learnings from my manufacturing experience and his accounting experience to leverage our businesses, and just recognize that we had to slow down. Like the worst thing you can do is just keep, blowing and going and not button up, because the wheels are just going to fall off and then you're going to be left with nothing. So we just recognized that, ship in the Titanic with little holes were, we ran out of fingers. So we had to stop and just say, all right, hold on a second. We still grew some, but we weren't trying to, we've never really actively marketed ourselves. It's always been organic. And so we kind of kept with organic, but not, putting ourselves out there to the rest of the world. So.
Yeah. So what tips would you give to somebody who's starting to put those systems into place now? Who was your first hire? Was it admin? Was it like what?
It was actually, it's funny you said that. I had two jobs. I was doing manufacturing and properties with Douglas, from 2001. We partnered in 2007. And then I didn't quit corporate to 2014. But back in 2012, we hired our first employee just to handle maintenance and rehabs and construction and that kind of stuff. And so that's when we really learned, we doubled that first year by leveraging somebody to take some of that stuff that was really, really holding us back and let that be a focus. Because, I'm sure you had a lot of guests tell you construction and rehab and maintenance, that's a very tough part of the real estate investing business. So that was our first hire. And when we did a 6-month, we call it low cost experiments. And so then, tell your listeners to kind of think through that when they're looking at their business. We said, all right, we hire a guy for say $36,000 a year. He just got out of school, but really wanted to be in property management. It said, all right, we're taking an $18,000 investment, 6 months. Like in 6 months, if we don't see a return on our investment, then we'll need to do something different. And so 6 months went by. We saw that I was able to help clients more and help kind of grow the business and work on other parts of the business, while the employee we hired was able to take a lot of stuff off of our plates. And we look back after that first year, we doubled. So we're like, okay, that's pretty good return on your investment. The business doubled its first year of having our first employee. So that was a good key learning for us.
Yeah. And what mistakes do you think you made along the way in terms of building those systems?
The biggest mistake that I would say that when I look back is not documenting everything is number one. And number two, we kind of call it, we were like on version 6.0, but version 1.0, 2.0, if you had property management experience, oh, come on and join us. Like we didn't really dive into who they were, what their capabilities were they the right fit. We just knew, oh, wow, you've done collections before, come on over. Hey, you've done leasing before, come on. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
Versus, that's what that culture index, you'll hear me say that probably several times through the interview, because we truly believe in it. But that was kind of a key change for us of helping us determine what that job profile should look like and only hiring to that job profile. So like right now, we don't care about property management experience or construction experience. I mean, we just hired somebody to oversee maintenance literally this week that came from Walgreens. He was running a Walgreens store, no maintenance experience, but he's got the profile of analytical, driven, fast-paced, very detailed. So we know his makeup of who he is, and so we're going to put him out in the field, and should be in 6 months should be a strong investment for us. But we didn't think that way early on. We just plugged people in. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense, and I think that's a really good pointer out there for somebody looking to start building their team. So you've got a number of companies that you're running. Do you have any rituals or routines that you follow, maybe daily or weekly, that helps keep you focused?
So I'm sure you heard this from Douglas, but he and I run 4 days a week. So that's 6 a.m. Somebody asked me this morning, it's 20 degrees here in Memphis. They're like, are you running tomorrow morning with Douglas? I'm like, well, is it tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.? Is that a day? Yes. So we will be out there running. So daily, just a quiet time, daily, physical fitness, some sort of workout, 7 days a week, actually. Some reading time. Either I've kind of switched that to the morning because nighttime was not a good time. I'm spent by the time the kids were down. I just learned that I wasn't learning anything, so I changed that around. But and then on the business side, we have level 10s with every business unit leader every week. So that is a strong ritual. We do not divvy from that. It's every like Crest Core Property Management is every Wednesday at 3:00. So we're there regardless of who can show up, because they might be on vacation or whatever. Doug's and I usually try to call in, but we stick to those times. We stick to the same agenda. Talk through successes, talk through people issues, client issues, employee issues, our previous to-dos, and then we have the IDS issue, discuss and solve. We spend a good hour on that. So those are the biggest rituals that come to mind when you ask that question.
Yeah, and that consistency, I think, is the key there. You don't deviate from that.
Yeah, I mean, I try to mentor anybody that wants to learn and is eager to learn, especially in real estate, and that's the key word. I two things I tell them is laser focus. Pick one. Like the one thing. That's an awesome book. I'm sure you've had it recommended before, and then just consistency. We have one of our guys that wants to move to multifamily, and he was complaining about or to be a multifamily agent, and he was talking about how other agents aren't responding and aren't calling back and not following up. And I was like, well, there's your recipe to be a successful agent.
Yeah.
Just call everybody back, email everybody back when you tell them you're going to. You know what I mean? Like just the basics. Just be consistent, and you'll rise to the cream of the crop very quickly. Just in that, you don't have to be the smartest person in the world. I mean, that's where I think people lose sight of that when they think, "Oh, I can't do that." No, just be consistent, like you said. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah,
and don't try to be all things to all people. That laser focus. Wholesalers, they want to wholesale, they want to flip, they want to wholesale, they want to, no, learn to wholesale if that's what you're wanting to do. Learn it, perfect it, get it 80% of there with your, automation and processes and systems, and then pile on something else. All I did for 10 years was buy and hold. That's all I did. Didn't do anything else. Yeah. And so people think we built this thing, all these businesses from just one day. No, I spent 10 years learning how to find a deal, rehab it, manage it, and pop it in the system, before we focused on something else. So.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that because, I think unless somebody goes deep into somebody's history, they just see you with all these successful businesses, but they don't realize that the decade of work it took to build that foundation, right?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I was doing double duty, W-2 job and buying and holding for, 13 years.
Wow. So, that's the price to action right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You
had mentioned before that most of your growth was done through organic means. Do you want to maybe elaborate on how that growth happened organically?
I think it's going back to what we just talked about with the consistency. And I don't know if you've heard of the book Speed of Trust, Stephen Covey. You ever heard of that book?
No, I've never read that one. I'll have to put that on the reading list.
Yes. Speed of Trust. So when you think of trust, you think about like integrity and that kind of stuff. But no, it's really just about doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. So when we did that for others, and then also add on top of that integrity, one of our core values, long-term partnerships versus short-term transactions. Mm-hmm. So people saw that in us. Like I'm not going to argue about $100 bill that you think that you don't need to pay. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to give you that $100 credit. I probably shouldn't put that out there on your podcast for everybody listening.
For free $100 coupon, right?
$100 coupon right here on the podcast. But but it's life is too short. If you really believe that you deserve that, then I'm not going to spend. I'm going to give that to you, and we'll move on. And so with that mindset, and treating others like in that way, they would refer people to us, and that's how that's your best. They became ambassadors for Crescore. You know what I mean? That was the key to that success, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's if somebody is going to take away one thing from this interview, I think that might be it. Because I find too many people when they first get started in real estate, they're focused on those transactions, but they don't see the bigger long-term picture, right?
Oh, I totally. I mean, you just said it well.
Yeah.
People just focus on I got to make the most money out of every single deal, and we're like, no, we just need deals. You need them going and moving and keep on going, and whether it be property management, move your clients, and keep on rolling. I mean, I think that's people just lose sight. That's. They don't want to hold every almighty dollars. For us, the money for us, and that's probably another thing I would share with you, like Doug's and I really don't talk about money. Like we talk about serving others, helping others succeed, which is our tenants, our employees, our clients, and then the money will come. That's the back end of doing everything right on the front end. So I think, that's one thing I would advise people is getting started. Don't so much focus on that transaction, trying to make as much money. Focus on helping others. If you focus on that, you'll be taken care of.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And out of all the deals you've done so far, is there one that stands out as a keystone deal?
Well, I was thinking about that last night. I got two.
Okay.
It was actually my very first deal. I bought in 2001, I bought a 19-unit apartment building in not the best of areas. C- class.
Okay. Yep.
One-bedroom apartments for back then they were $300. So you can imagine, So my very first month of owning it, I saw a tenant that I said, man, he looks like he's going to be bad news. Well, next thing I know, he burned up 4 units that next night. And I was underinsured, no renter's insurance, didn't know what I was going to do. I was 27 years old with a 19-unit apartment, and I got an insurance was based on the insurance agent just said, what should I insure it for? I'm like, well, whatever I owe, which was like $300,000 or something like that. And so that does not mean when it burns, you got to have replacement cost insurance. So, I had a $110,000 claim. Insurance wanted to give me $50,000. And as a 27-year-old, I was freaking out. I didn't, but I got some advice from attorneys of what to say to the insurance, to try to, move that number up a little bit. And so, I literally tell people I learned by the fire. I learned all about insurance. You won't catch me not knowing, about deductibles and replacement cost. And, I had no renter's insurance. So replacement, when something happens, you can actually get your rent paid for you while the unit is down. I had none of that. So for 9 months of rebuilding this thing, I was without 4 units and I hadn't even paid the first mortgage.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. But with, one thing I would tell your audience is because I got through that, I was like, man, I can make it in this business. If that's, that to me, that was the worst case scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Besides the whole thing, I think I've been better off if the whole thing burned down because they would have given me a $300,000 check and I would just paid it off and moved on. Had a big lot in the middle of a neighborhood. But I learned a ton from that experience, especially resolve, sticking to it, figuring out options. I'm a big believer in personal accountability. So, I just had to own it and understand what I had to do to fix it. So that's my favorite deal was always my first because of extreme. Who does? I don't even know what. Looking back, is I don't know why I was buying a 19-unit apartment. You know what I mean? I just moved to Memphis. I just the numbers looked great, and I just went after it. So I should have started probably with a single house, but I did not.
No, I like that because lots of people they get started in the single family and then they move to the multifamily. But I've also spoken with some investors, now yourself included, where they just started off with a bigger deal right off the bat. And most of them say it was for the better.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'm being a little facetious. I think I would never, I wouldn't trade all that experience for the world. So I think I wouldn't just tell my best friend to go buy a 19-unit apartment. Yeah. He buying a state neighborhood. That's not the first thing I'd tell him to go do. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And what inspired you to buy that deal in the first place?
Man, so my journey kind of goes back to high school. I had a mentor in high school that owned real estate, and I was kind of his grunt guy, helping him board up windows, cut grass, hand him tools. But during that time, he was teaching me about, building wealth through real estate. And it just stuck through me through college. And I read a few books right out of college. I think was it Robert Allen, was one of the ones. I can't remember the name of the book now. But, when I moved to Memphis back in 1998, I just knew I was going to buy real estate. And so I started searching, took a few years. And the environment was a lot different back then. People would loan you money for no doc type loan. You know what I mean? It was getting capital was a lot easier back then than it is now. So, but I always knew I wanted to do it. I wanted to build wealth. I was actually, it's funny how this all turned out because all I was trying to do is have options from the corporate world. I didn't know I was going to quit corporate and all that stuff. I just wanted to buy something, put on a short-term note, pay it off, and then have options on the back end. So that was kind of my vision.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. You mentioned as a second deal that came to mind.
Okay. So Douglas and I ran from about 04 to about 07, and I taught him what I was doing. He started doing it on his own. He's CPA, CFA, I'm engineer, operations. So, and our strengths and weaknesses are totally opposite. He's very detailed and buttoned up. I'm more just go after it, get after it, and worry about the details later. But just as an example, but we bought a tax sale house together. And we sat on it. And then when the redemption period was over, I went and met the lady that she's like, okay, can I rent it for, a few months, $500 a month? I'm like, sure, well, but I got to fix that roof. I got to replace your roof because, there's raw wood exposed. I've been watching it for months and I was just driving me crazy. I was like, I got to replace your roof and get this thing dry. Okay, honey, that's fine. Well, my roofer was over there working on it and he called me and goes, Dan, we got an issue. And I was like, what's going on? He goes, the lady's fallen in the house and there's so much trash in the house that the fireman can't even get inside to save her. And so, imagine 1,000 square foot house, 1,000 square foot, right? 3 30-yard dumpsters of trash.
Oh, no.
2 dead dogs, 2 rats that got stuck in the trash over the years that were just so compressed. And the subfloor was all gone, and so, but it was another one where like we bought it at a good price. We just, and Douglas and I worked really well together, getting through that process, getting things, financed and cleaned up. And, I got so many funny stories from that experience, but we both looked at each other on a run and just said, if we can get through this, as partners, we can get through anything. So that one kind of sticks out to me from a partnership standpoint that kind of took us off to be partners to this day. So.
Yeah. And what would you say? Actually, you probably saved that lady's life because if the guy wasn't there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if the guy hadn't been there, I don't know what would happen.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So both of your deals, you talked about that mental fortitude in powering through those rough waters. What would you say to somebody who's maybe going through that rough patch right now? Like what tips would you give them to focus and get through it?
I would say you can get through it. Obviously, it's up to you, but I'd seek out some mentors. I'd seek out people that are ahead of you, listen to podcasts. I would just seek out information and just, there's somebody out there that can then guide you through that and push you and give you that encouragement you need because, that's what's so good about having a partnership. When I'm down, Douglas is up, and when he's down, I'm up, so we kind of help balance that out. But you need somebody like that to help you through that, to get through hard times like that. But to me, it's all worth it. You just got to think through what's your worst case, what's the worst can happen. You know what I mean? Like, what's the absolute worst? And once you understand what that is, and then either have a plan for it or okay with the outcome, keep moving. That's what I'd say. That's why, I love Millionaire Real Estate Investor, the book.
Yeah.
A third of the book is all attitude and mental, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even start focusing on like the fundamentals until it gets you, right here in your head, how to get over that and how to get, that's why that phrase, just do it, right? That's why it's there. Just do it. Stop talking about it, just go do a deal.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people I talk to that never do a deal, but they talk about it for, I'll get a call from a guy. I got one the other day from 3 years ago. He's still talking.
Yep.
I said, man, you got to stop talking, man. You got to do something. Let's go. Let's move on.
Yeah. We all know people like that. We talk to them and they're always saying, oh, I'm going to do a deal. And it never happens.
I feel terrible because because all of us can do it, but you got to separate business from emotion. That's probably the other piece of I get so many people worried about, they're going to tear up my house and so what? We'll fix it back. Now it might cost you a little bit of money, but when you're paying down principal and you got depreciation expense and all this other stuff, it's still worth it at the end of the day. Appreciation, you sum all that up. Who cares you lost $2,000 that year because somebody tore up your house? You know what I mean? Like, people get so focused, I didn't make any money this year. I'm like, come on, guys, let's look at the whole picture, not just the fact that somebody tore up your place. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. And I like how you put that, because people will focus on $1,000 instead of seeing the hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's all they're thinking about is that $1,000, that water heater, something that somebody tore up or whatever. They're not thinking about 10 years from now when you paid it down $50,000.
Yeah.
Where else can you buy, do something with, where somebody else is paying down your investment? That it's powerful.
Yeah.
Every day you're not sitting there making a podcast. A tenant's paying one of my properties, help me pay it off right now as we speak, probably. So.
Yeah. No, that's huge. And so you've built some successful businesses. Do you want to just tell us how real estate has changed your life?
Man, I think we're still on a long journey. I would say it's a long journey. The tortoise and the hare. I think that's a great analogy of just we feel like we're in a marathon, not a sprint. And so for us, I think it's just created options. You know what I mean? Like it's created opportunities, options. Who knew that buying properties would turn into a property management company, which then would turn into a maintenance company, which then would turn into a finance company? You know what I mean? Like, who knew that's what happened? So I think if I hadn't started, I would never have created these opportunities. So, but in a basic sense, if you just look at like a piece of real estate in itself, you just took one house or 5 houses or whatever, you're creating wealth, or you're creating money that's being built up for you to be able to do something else, whether it help you retire or help you, cash flow per month, or, deductions. I mean, there's all the different, avenues that you can, but not doing it, is the worst idea ever.
Yeah. Not doing it is the most expensive thing. That's because right. You're missing out on all that potential.
That's right. Exactly right.
No, that's perfect. Well, Dan, just want to say thanks so much for taking the time today to share those interesting stories with us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, plenty more of those came from.
Well, that's great. So if somebody's looking to find out more about what you're doing or connect with you about investing, how can they find you?
I mean, the simplest is dan@crestcore.com. Just email me. I'll be glad to help, any way I can.
No, that's perfect. Well, thanks again so much. This was really interesting.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And to you, our viewers, I wish you well in your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.